Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Candidates Forum. My name is Alan Foulds, and I'll be moderating the discussion. Joining me is Rich Hosford, BNEWS Director here at BCAT, to ask the questions of the candidates. At this session, we'll be focusing on the race for Planning Board. We have one 5-year position, 2 candidates. Carol Perna has been an elected member of the board since 2015, and Michael Espejo is a 30-year Burlington resident with 20 years' experience in the electrical construction industry. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
All right, first, we'll begin with going through the ground rules, tell you how it's going to work. Each candidate will begin by offering a 1-minute opening statement, and we've drawn lots for the order. After that, Rich Hosford will ask questions of each of the candidates, and each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer. We'll alternate between candidates. Next, each candidate will be allowed to ask 1 question of the other candidate, again with 90 seconds to answer. Finally, each candidate will give a 2-minute closing statement. And we'll keep the same order that we started with. That way, we don't have the same person with the first words and the last words. In the interest of covering as many subjects as possible, try to keep a close watch on the time. I'll give you a signal when there's about 15 seconds or so left. Okay, by lottery, we have decided that Michael will go first. So, you're up.
Thank you, Alan. Good evening. My name is Mike Espejo, and I'm running for the open seat on Planning Board in our town election on April 6th. I have Burlington in my blood. My family moved to Burlington in 1975, and I'm a over 30-year resident in town. I'm a product of Burlington schools. I've gone all the way from nursery all the way up to being elected president of my graduating class at Burlington High in 1991. I'm an Eagle Scout from Burlington's Troop 511, and I'm a member of St. Margaret's Parish here in town, and was a CCD teacher for a couple of years. Currently, I'm serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'd like to do more. I love this town. I was developed here, raised here, and it's given me so many gifts, and I'd like to give back. Lastly, I'd like to thank BCAT, Alan, for being here, for putting on tonight's candidate forum. Thank you, Carol, for coming. And I'd like to close by asking for your vote on April 6th.
Thank you very much. Carol.
Hi, good evening. I'm Carol Perna. I've been in Burlington for the last we moved here 20 years ago. I put all 3 of my kids through the Burlington school system. My youngest is currently a sophomore at the high school. I got involved in the town very shortly after I moved here. My daughter hadn't even started school at Fox Hill yet, and I was already on the playground committee for the playground that's now standing there. I've served for the last 10 years. 10 years ago, I ran for town meeting. I served in Precinct 6, and then we got redistricted to Precinct 1. 5 of those 6 years, I served on the capital budget committee. And for the last 4 years, I've been on the planning board. Thank you very much for having me, and Mike, thank you for being here.
Great, thank you. All right, now we'll begin the questions. Rich will be asking the questions, and we'll alternate first responders for each of you, and we'll begin. Mike will be the first one to answer. So, Rich, first question.
All right. The planning board, as a member, it's long meetings, a lot of reading, very little compensation. So I'm going to start off just asking, why are you running for this position?
That's a great question, Rich. And out on the campaign trail talking to residents in the town, I think that's the #1 question I get. Why would you give up all your time and effort and energy and resources to run for a planning board and devote yourself to doing something like that? And the answer is really simple. I love this town. This town has been so, so great to me. As I mentioned in my open, I think a lot of who I am as a person comes from growing up here in town, going to nursery school here in town, riding my bike to Sammy's Deli. Burlington is in my blood, and because of all the great things and lessons that Burlington has given me, I want to give back. I want to make sure that it remains the town that I grew up in and love and continue to love, but along with being a viable, vibrant community that has grown and blossomed to become. So long answer short, I love this town and I want to give back for all that it's given me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carol, the same question.
Same question. I want to continue to be on the planning board because I think I've just begun scratching the surface of what there is to do on the planning board. I love Burlington. We chose to move here 20 years ago and raise our family. I've also believe wholeheartedly that what happens in Burlington affects us every single day. So being part of the town politics is extremely important to me. And the late nights, it's twice a month late nights and all the other meetings, but I actually enjoy it. So I want to continue. Please, thank you.
Great, thank you. Rich will be asking the question again, but the first answer will come from Carol. Rich?
I just wanted to get just a little bit more about your background. Just what is it as far as professional background, education that you think makes you the better candidate for this spot?
My professional background is I've just been an administrative assistant, and now I'm currently a real estate professional. But I just I've learned I actually have learned as I went along, and I just enjoy serving the town, serving the people of Burlington. I enjoy helping where I can, when I can, and I am not a public speaker in any means of the thing. So please don't take that part of my.
It's okay.
So I just really want to continue on the planning board.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Excellent question, Rich. And I will say that, as Alan mentioned in the open, I have 20 years experience in the electrical construction industry. Currently, I'm working for Northeast Electrical Distributors in Woburn. I manage that branch. And I have worked everything from one electrician working out of his van all the way to some of the largest electrical contractors in the Commonwealth. I've worked with architects, I've worked with GCs, helping them finish their projects on time, selecting the correct products, making sure that their products go through. We're working with project managers to help solve problems. And I think my background in my electrical construction industry makes me a good candidate for the position. And also my long history with the town, knowing a lot of the residents, and being on the Zoning Board of Appeals, I think it's a nice stepping stone into the planning board. So I think those qualifications, my life experience, my work experience, and current experience make me a great candidate for the planning board. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Rich, next question.
So, when a business comes before the planning board, it can be a pretty in-depth process. How do you think the planning board should balance between being thorough and protecting the interests of the town, but also not becoming, having things go on so long that, maybe other businesses watching might become a little bit wary of, trying to come to Burlington?
And again, we'll start with Mike.
That's a great question, Rick. Also, and Rich. I think the planning board has to find a delicate balance between, first and foremost, any public servant or public official should have the best interest of whomever they're serving, their town, their community, their city, at heart. And number one, the planning board should have Burlington's interests at heart. That said, I think we also should be conducive and easy to work with business, because they're the reasons why our tax rates are so low. They're the reasons why our services are so high. I think 60% of our tax revenue comes from commercial businesses that come into town. And we have to work well with them and not discourage them from choosing Woburn or Billerica or a different town other than Burlington to come set up shop. So it's a delicate balance that we have to walk, protecting our own interests, but also being friendly and amenable to businesses who want to come to town and set up shop here. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Carol, the same question.
Same question. When somebody comes before the planning board, we try to listen to all sides of things, and I know sometimes things get long-winded, but we're trying to get the best project for the town of Burlington that we possibly can. There are certain rules that we have to follow. There's things that you can't say no to certain things unless you have very specific rules. So we try to get the most that we can get, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes things get pushed out, and we go to subcommittee and try to work it out there where everybody can do the revisions and things, and then we come back to public meeting. But we try to make it as quick as possible, and sometimes some projects just take longer than others. It's just the way it goes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, next question, Rich.
How much do you think the planning board should get into the aesthetics of a building, of how it looks? And are there certain parts of town where that's particularly important?
And we'll begin with Carol.
We have design control over what buildings look like in the town center overlay. That's very important to us. We have guidelines for that, and those buildings, yes, we want which right now our town center isn't cohesive. As projects come before us, we've started adding street lights in front of things. We've started adding brick banding on streets and sidewalks, so that there's some cohesiveness going down Route 3A, and so that you can actually tell when you've hit town center. Before the only thing that you could see town center was the gazebo on the common, and it was a mishmash. It's getting better, but it's taking time because it happens as projects come before us. And I think other than that, we try to get the best project for Burlington that we can.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
When it comes to aesthetics in buildings and the look of any building that's going to be put up in town, I've learned a little bit about this through the Zoning Board of Appeals. Anytime a company wants to, put up a new sign or change a sign and it doesn't fall within the bylaws, they come before us for a variance to get the sign approved. So I think the town does have a vested interest in making sure that our buildings, our parks, our shops, our commercial centers do meet the overall vision and goal of the town. I think we have to hold businesses accountable to our zoning bylaws, but I also think we have to allow them the freedom to be able to market and service their businesses appropriately. So it's, again, like everything in life, life's all about balance. It's finding that balance of following the vision we want for the town, following the rules in place for the town, and also being amenable to the businesses themselves as far as what they want to do as far as their business plan and how they want to go to market.
Thank you.
Okay, Rich, another question?
Sure. This is slightly outside a little bit of the typical scope, but are there certain types of businesses that you would like the town to work to attract more of, and do you have any way of perhaps accomplishing that?
And Mike, we'll start with you.
This is, you're hitting right in my wheelhouse here. In talking to residents and friends and going to events around town and knocking on doors, one of my dream vision or dream wish for Burlington would be a hardware store. We used to have one back in the day. I would love to see a hardware store in our town center. I used to fill my propane tank at Donahue's. It's no longer there. Now I have to go to either O'Connor's in Billerica, or if I need a box of nails, I got to go to Lowe's in Woburn. I want to keep that business, that kind of stuff in town. Another thing I'd love to see, Burlington has a plethora of amazing restaurants, but a lot of them are changed and high end. I'd love to see a family style restaurant that you could bring your family to, that's affordable, that's good value, that is right here in town, so you don't have to go outside of town for that type of restaurant. So those are my two dream things to see in town.
Thank you.
Carol?
On this one, I have to agree with Mike about a hardware store. It would be lovely to have a hardware store. Currently, what comes into it's hard. The planning board doesn't necessarily attract the businesses, but they'll come to us once they've decided what they're going to do. Burlington doesn't currently have my words lost me. The person that brings the
Oh, yes.
a business economic developer. I apologize. I lose my words sometimes. Kristen kind of does a little bit of it, and the Board of Selectmen does a little bit of it. We don't have that actual full-time person to bring things. So that would be something that would be nice to have in town. But other than that, the hardware store and smaller restaurants. But as you know, whoever owns the property is the one that gets to choose who comes or what they do with it.
Thank you. All right, so it's time to move on to our next segment where you each get to ask the other person one question. Now, again, you have 90 seconds to answer. I say that, but you have to admit you've both done very well keeping within the time limit. So we'll start with Mike asking Carol.
Thank you, Alan. Through my campaign, I've been watching a lot of the meetings. Thankfully, BCAT puts them online. And I've been watching town meeting, I've been watching planning board meetings, selectmen meetings, trying to learn the whole process of the government sphere. And I've learned that it's required by state law for any planning board constructed such as ours under Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81A, that the planning board should come before town meeting and forecast expectations, costs, plans, etc., that they foresee for the upcoming year. And over the past several years, I've noticed that of all the boards that have come before town meeting, the planning board hasn't done this. And my question for Carol is, don't you think it's important, one, not only to comply with state law, but to involve town meeting in the actual planning process? Because ultimately, town meeting has a say or jurisdiction over almost every major decision in town.
Well, I think you're actually wrong. I think Kristen does do at the beginning of every meeting when they have the boards come out, and at the beginning of every town meeting, the town administrator runs through things that he's done, and the different department heads go through theirs, and that's where the planning board. Kristen, our department head, takes care of that for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Carol, question for Mike.
First of all, how long have you been involved with the Board of Appeals, and what's your membership on what's your position on the Board of Appeals? Secondly, in addition to that, why now? Are you coming out to all of a sudden without having gone through like town meeting or learning how to do through the town meeting and such?
Okay, Mike.
Great.
I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it at all. Great question. Thank you. It's an important. I've been on the Board of Appeals as an alternate since November. I am new to the process. I'm new to town government, no doubt at all. And the reason why I'm running for planning board is I have loved those meetings. I enjoy going. I enjoy being part of the process. I haven't missed a meeting. I think it's exciting, and I want to do more. I want to do more than just what we do on the ZBA. And as for your second question, why now? Excellent question. And sometimes during this campaign, I've asked myself that. 4 years in this town with my history and contacts and classmates and parents of classmates and now kids of classmates, 4 years, people have told me, Mike, you have to run for office in this town. And you hear that, and number one, you're humbled and flattered that someone would say that to you, because that's a high compliment, and it's one I don't take lightly. And for years, I humbly say thank you very much, but I don't know if it's for me, but getting this small taste of the Zoning Board of Appeals and looking back and seeing the great impact that Burlington's had on me is just, I'm full bore now in this campaign. I'm all in, and no matter what happens on April 6th, I'm going to keep trying and keep going for the town of Burlington. People are excited to see a new face, and I'm excited to be that for them.
Great, thank you. Well, we're moving into the final phase here, our closing statements. And we will stick with the same order that we began. So, Mike, you have 2 minutes.
This has been a good night of conversation with BCAT and Ellen. Thank you for coming. And Carol, thank you for coming. And it's been a great part of the entire process in campaigning. And the campaign has been, it's been a good long 6 weeks. I'm new to it. And the thing I love most is talking to people, talking to our residents, reconnecting with old classmates, reconnecting with old friends, their parents, and the support that they've given me and the vibe that I've gotten from the town has been outstanding. And I'm thankful for that, and it drives me. And the one thing that I learned this week, that I was in it for the right reasons, because I was invited by my old neighbor, Bernie Ficasello, who I grew up 2 houses down from on Heritage Way. And Bernie said, come to our jazz night. It's a New Orleans jazz night on the senior center. And I hadn't seen Bernie probably since high school. And I got there and I saw Bernie. She gave me a big hug, and a lot of emotions came back, a lot of memories of that old neighborhood, a lot of thoughts about my time here in Burlington. And at the break of the New Orleans Jazz, it was a room full of seniors. Bernie took me around and introduced me to all of her friends in the room, and everyone was excited to see a new face. And she said one thing to one woman that really got me. She said, Mike had his first peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my kitchen. And that brought it all back for me. Burlington's in my blood. This town, even though I went to college at Ohio State, even though I lived in California for years, it's always been home. It's always called me back. And that's why I'm in it. And I want to give back to the town that's been so wonderful to me. So again, thank you to BCAT, thank you, Alan, thank you, Carol. And thank you for the residents of Burlington for your support, your encouragement, for watching tonight. And I humbly ask for your vote on April 6th for the planning board here in the town that we all know and love, Burlington. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And Carol, your final comments.
Thank you, Alan, BCAT, and Rich for having us. Thank you, Mike, for being here tonight. As a 20-year resident, we chose to live here in Burlington because it was the best place for our family to raise our family. As I said before, I got involved in town politics by running for the town meeting. Actually, it was 10 years ago this year that I ran for town meeting. I served 6 years on town meeting. I missed maybe 1 meeting or 2 meetings out of those whole 6 years, as well as I went to 5 years of those 6 I served on capital budget. I've served the last 4 years on the planning board. I have put in lots and lots of hours. There's a very large learning curve on the planning board, and I feel like I'm just starting to get into into my groove, and I'd like to be able to continue serving Burlington by staying on the planning board. I humbly ask for your vote on April 6th, and thank you to everybody that's helped me in the past. Thank you very much for having us.
Great. Well, in closing, I'd like to thank both candidates, Carol Perna and Michael Espejo, not only for coming tonight to share your vision, but offering your services to the town. Thank you to Rich Hosford of BNEWS, and finally, thank you to Jen Dodge and the rest of the cast of the staff and the volunteers here at BCAP. Election Day is Saturday, April 6th. The polls are open at the high school from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Here's your chance to have a direct say in how your town is governed. And thank you all for watching.